Let's go to the West, and we should start with Saskatchewan because they made news on Tuesday, and I was on Charleston Hughes' podcast on Tuesday talking
Were
about
you?
this kind of stuff. Charleston had me on Better with Age, and I got to ask him some cool questions. I was very
Nice.
excited about that. The Riders signed Dion Lacey on
Yeah.
Tuesday, which answers the question of who's going to be the will linebacker. Oh, Dion Lacey, who's been in the NFL since the 2017 season. Yeah, okay, they're good. They're good. That's an upgrade. Like you go from Cam Judge to Dion Lacey. Props to Cam Judge. Dion Lacey's awesome.
Well,
So
and I've seen Dion Lacey do his thing, and I've seen Larry Dean do his thing, and they feel like similar players. Like they're so fast to the football. The way they diagnose with their eyes and shoot gaps and make sure tackles. When I saw the Dion Lacey signing, I'm like, man, that is a crazy combination to be able to. Like, if you would have had Larry Dean alongside Simone Lawrence, it's like obviously, yeah, that's a great pairing. Simone Lawrence has more CFL tenure. People in Hamilton will say, any will linebacker is not as good as Simone Lawrence because they love their Ticats. But Dion Lacey is a wildly talented linebacker. And for him to be alongside Larry, I just was
yeah.
like looking at those 1-2 punches inside the box, because as you know, we can consider the Sam linebacker to kind of be that hybrid. I'm amazed that they're going to get that type of production from their line. I wouldn't be surprised if they lead the league in tackles from the Will and the Mac combined.
Oh, it's such a terrific signing and re-signing essentially because they had him in 2020,
Yeah.
but he opted out to try the NFL. So my question for Saskatchewan now becomes: who replaces Charleston Hughes, and who replaces? Well, one, positionally, I can kind of guess, but two, who replaces that impact? AC Leonard was nice opposite Charleston, but you wonder how much of AC Leonard's nice season is because of Charleston. The question we've asked about the guy playing opposite Charleston for a decade. Oh, this guy's got double-digit sacks. They're sliding to 39 side, so maybe that's why. Freddie Bishop, is it Chad Jeter, who is really well liked in this town, I believe in his coaching staff as well. Who replaces that impact? And if they can't replace 16 sacks, 18 sacks, and number 3 in quarterback pressures, how does that change things? They have a veteran core behind them. That defensive backfield is almost entirely back. Maybe some minor juggling with Luchez Purifoy coming down to Sam. But, I mean, the back 8 looks really nice. So what do they do for pressure off the edge? Because as much as he's 37, Charleston Hughes was a monster in 2019. So what do they do without that, or can someone become that, is my biggest question about the Riders.
For me, my question about the Riders is, what do they do with the quarterback run game? And I know I've been harping
Yes.
about this when I've been on the sports cage with you. I keep bringing it up. I feel like people that live in Saskatchewan and hear me talk Riders football are tired of me talking about Fajardo and quarterback run game. But here is why I'm intrigued by it. He's got the ability. It gives you something that there's a lot of other quarterbacks in the league that can't bring to the table what he does. And it's, yeah, anybody can break the pocket and go scrambling for 9 yards and slide. We've seen McLeod Bethel Thompson do that in 2019 on a not so great offense for the Argos. That's good to have as a quarterback. The difference is Cody Fajardo will take that 9 yards, juke a linebacker, stiff arm somebody else, and run 40 yards. And so I think you have to access some of it, but I wonder what the risk reward is in terms of called quarterback runs, because there's always the risk when you call a quarterback run, whether it be an interior run, whether it be a midline defensive tackle option, if it be a standard zone read, if it be an RPO where you've got the ability to roll out afterwards. There's so many different things they can do with him. Jason Moss is a creative guy. He's got an open mind. He's coming in. He wants to make a splash with the Riders. All of the ingredients are there for Cody Fajardo to be a really lethal runner. Or they could say, nope, that's our guy. We want to refine him as a passer. We're not going to take away his legs. He can create with his legs, go off script when he wants to, but we want him to be this, and put him in a little bit of a box and say, if you want to dance outside the box, feel free to, but we're not going to smash open the gate and say, go crazy. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but I am intrigued by the idea that quarterback run will factor into his success this year.
8 touchdowns on designed runs for Fajardo in 2019. We see quarterbacks who have 13 touchdowns. Well, 12 of them are on quarterback sneaks. No.
Yeah.
Fajardo had 8 of his rushing touchdowns on designed runs, not scrambles, not sneaks, but they said this is a run play. Cody dived for the pylon and beat Hamilton, and he did it. That said, he did hurt his shoulder so badly diving for the touchdown against Hamilton that he was absolutely unable to throw the ball the very next week against Montreal.
Yeah.
So if Moss does go away from that, there is evidence to say, yeah, you know what, that might it costs us something, but we don't have a quarterback who can't throw with his proper arm the next week. That's
and full transparency, my take on this, wondering what they would do with the quarterback run game, was developed the second Moss was hired, because we all saw at the end of the season when Fajardo was injured, he was not himself. And that vastly impacted the ability of Winnipeg to get, I believe, into the Grey Cup. Like when you're going through a Western final against Saskatchewan in Saskatchewan, they should, if they had a fully healthy, to me, Cody Fajardo, been able to knife and pick apart a little bit more of what Winnipeg was doing defensively. Because again, against a great defensive end tandem like they have in Winnipeg, one of the best things you can do is slow those guys down by making them use their minds, like make them be read. And he had the ability to do that when healthy. He wasn't healthy. Like he wasn't moving well, and that changed that game. So do you want to risk the bonus of added production and a more varied offense for the possibility of him getting dinged, and then you're really in some trouble? Because again, full respect to the backup situation in Saskatchewan, it's not Cody Fajardo from when he's healthy in 2019 that we saw.
Yeah, I wanted to pull up while we were talking what was the deepest throw that Fajardo made in that game, because he had said, you know, he tried a deep ball and it got picked off in that game, and he said, yeah, that was absolutely as far as I could throw it on my my injured arm. And honestly, Depth, this is not even remotely correct. It was probably maybe 40 yards down.
You had it at 97 yards, didn't you?
No, I'm goofing up what game. It was game 94 of that season.
Oh, you actually number them. Damn, that would confuse the hell out of me.
But it allows me to kind of figure this out. So what was the deepest throw Fajardo had in that game?
We're talking West Final?
36 yards downfield. And he said that was as good as I could do that day. And he must have broken 50 in some other games that year. So yeah, it was a problem that you don't want to run into.
Yeah, I had it at 37, and it was to Shaq Evans, and it got picked off.
That's the one. He said that was absolutely as far as I could throw it, and I underthrew Shaq by a mile. And you're like, yeah, but damn if he didn't try and get a bunch more fans on the season. He had multiple ones over 50 yards during the season. Did Fajardo.